And it looks effortless. Like looks like they're playing a video game. Our guys are like, oh, we did hurt some
Cross
people.
is tough. Like you, I mean,
There's
it's
no
not
way
something
I'm
you can
doing
pick up later on.
And our defense near the goal was horrible. I mean, I felt because the only reason I'm watching is
You felt like he was getting shot
jaw,
at?
I'm like, oh my god, put him, sub him out.
Getting shot at?
Get him out of there. They're like rocking. Get him out of there.
Up or down?
I think up is on. It was on.
Okay, mine was on too.
Everybody remember the first tab is the agenda. All the tabs go in order of our agenda. Make sure your mic is on the up.
No.
Why am I hearing that? Do you want to hear that?
That's probably YouTube you need to mute.
Oh, that's great. Okay, where's? Oh, it's right there. All right, I think we're all set.
So I guess I'm supposed to talk here.
Yeah.
The meeting will be called to order, beginning with the Pledge of Allegiance, the moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next would be approval of the agenda.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Good. All right. All right.
Approval of the minutes.
Approval of the minutes from last month.
Yeah, can we get an approval of the minutes for the last meeting we had?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any public comment?
We had a public comment about block scheduling and year-long classes for math and world language classes.
Okay. And are we gonna respond back to them?
We don't have to, no.
Okay.
I'll take it to leadership and we'll review that request. We do have year-long classes for AP and IB classes in those departments and others. So those are the ones that are AB classes that go year-long.
All right.
Prestige. Let's find David King. Promote. You there, David? There he is.
Hey everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my, can you enable me to share my screen?
Yes. David. Where you at?
Good. So first, just going to go over the April financial reports. The Education Finance Act, the biggest revenue source for the school, has been finalized for this fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. It went ahead and increased it by $46,783 on the budgeted line to a total of $18,312,000. So not a big adjustment on the line as a whole, but it's been adjusted based off the 135th day count that came out of Power School. The 135 day count is basically the 135th day that school was in session. The average number of students that have been at James Island Charter was 1,572 each day. And so that's where that adjustment came in. We had budgeted for 1,565. So that's why it went up slightly. I will also note that this line, teacher salary increase and teacher salary fringe, those two deposits came in the month of May. So you can see there's $315,000 remaining here and $92,000 remaining here. That's utilized to go towards teacher pay and benefits, but that money was deposited in the month of May, which is why it's not reflected in the April report, the second half of those. We're 10 months through the year, so 16.67% overall is kind of what you want to see. You will see that the total revenue is at 18.91, partially because you're receiving more EFA now than you were at the beginning of the year. And also you have some of these other lines, such as that teacher salary increase in fringe that came in May and will be coming in June, such as student versus school failure, that haven't been deposited as of yet. On the expense side, the main things I just wanted to highlight, there was no adjustments made, but on the last page of the expenses, which is the page 8 of the income statement, you'll notice that the $30,500 for the tennis court has been fully realized, 0% remaining there. And then on a bigger scale, your building wing, the CCSD bond project that's outside, and has been being worked on, was paid for via check in the month of April. And so that $1.5 million was sent to CCSD, and that line as well is at 0% remaining as a result. That said, your total operating budget balance is in the black, $434,000, and the total operating net income is in the black, $2.213 million. There is some expenses still lagging, such as the student transportation, which had a budget of $550,000, and we just got the bills for, I think, October, November, and December just recently. So that's partially why the actual net income is so much higher than the budget as of this point. You're kind of lagging on expenses, and that kind of also can explain why the 28% remaining is there instead of the 16.67, which is good. I mean, you want to have more expenses built in to get your bottom line or in a better place than less anyway. And then finally, your total net income with the $1.5 million included through April 30th is $688,000 in the black. Are there any questions on what I went over today on the April financial report, or any other lines that I didn't mention but you might want me to look further into and get back to you guys on?
No. Thanks, David.
David, the next thing is the first reading of the budget for next year, 21-22 budget.
Okay, let me put it on my other screen. Sorry. 2022 budget. All right, so I'll make it bigger for you here. All right, so this is the first reading of the FY22 budget. This is for the budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021, ending June 30th, 2022. The way we have it formatted here is that the actual year to date through April 30th column is exactly the same from the reports that we just went over. The FY21 revised budget column similarly is exactly the same as that third revised budget column that we just looked at a minute ago. And then the FY22 budget draft column is saying, hey, these are the revenues and expenses that we're projecting are going to occur and are budgeting for that fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022. We have this reading here, which I'll go over some of the bigger items. And then we'll have the reading in June, which will be the final reading because the budget has to be approved by June 30th to be approved before the year begins on July 1st, 2022. So that'll on July 1st, 2021. So that'll happen next month's board meeting. Normally you'll see based on like these notes based on 2021 trends This year, because of COVID, some of the stuff we're going over is going to have based off 1920 trends, because kind of going back a year since coronavirus had a big impact on all of the people-driven revenues and expenses. So that's why we're looking at those notes that might be 2 years behind in that regard. The first biggest item is the Education Finance Act, which we just talked about, being updated to the 135-day count here. You can see it going up to $19 million for next fiscal year. The actual average day membership, the students on average at 10 James Island per day, were actually leaving about the same at 1,570. What the difference is how much you're receiving per student, per weighted one of these students, that is. And we're increasing it to $9,011.37. That's a 4% increase on the current year's amount you receive per weighted student. That is what CCSD in their last projection has indicated would be the amount you will receive next fiscal year for per weighted student. For context, the prior year they also had said there was going to be a 3.84% increase for this current fiscal year, and it was much higher. It was more like 6% or greater than that. So usually they're even conservative with their adjustments. So that's why we're going with that figure there. Also on the revenue side, you'll see that we have the ESSER 1 is not, it was a one-time thing. It's not happening again. Similarly, the CRF, your coronavirus relief funds, the $160,000 is not being added into the budget for next year as far as revenue goes. That was, again, a one-time thing as part of the first stimulus package. We have here, just as a note, your ESSER 2 and then ESSER 3, which became part of the second and third stimulus packages at $0. Just because the amount that the school is being allocated is so large, and you don't want it to get intermixed or intertwined with these with your general fund budget. Also, the actual expenses in that ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 plan, I mean, the ESSER 3 plan actually hasn't had the allocation amount officially given yet, haven't been decided on officially yet, or at least approved. On the, first of all, any questions on the revenues?
The $9,011, that's the estimate we got from CCSD for next year. So that's why we're using that number. We've been just doing 2% and underestimating that. But we felt as a finance committee that we thought going with that number, since it's been so consistent, it's about 6% each year has been going up. We want to have a more accurate budget where we stand versus constantly underestimating and being so conservative. And the 1570 is our current amount for this year. The enrollment for next year is very high. It's looking to be closer to 1630 if things were to come to pass based on who wants to come here. So in the end, that number should be higher than this year. Than I mean, we won't end with 1630 or maybe even start with it, but we'll probably start north of 1600 kids. So that makes things much more stable and strong for us.
All right. So on the expense side of things, you're going to see staffing schedule, because this is pulling from an Excel document that has all the staffing, salaries and benefits and so forth. Just as an overview for the salaries and benefits and whatnot, generally for the salaries, what's been built in for this reading of the budget is a 5.5% increase from the current year. On the benefit side of things, we have right now a 3% increase for employer-side health insurance built in. It really is up to the legislature as far as what they decide to do as far as increasing health insurance employer side. We also have currently a 1% increase to the retirement employer side expense, so 22.81% match for the state retirement system. Again, is kind of up to the legislature and PIVA as far as what they mandate is going to be as of July 1st. So that's the general overview for the salaries. On the other lines, the supplies and service and whatnot, there are notes for more bigger ones, such as the technology equipment. We have it sitting at just like what it would be to maintain the current technology, because we would think that a lot of the technology upgrades, as far as capital upgrades, could be built into the ESSER 2 and/or 3 plans. A lot of these are going to be similar to prior year, which is when you're going to see the based on 1920 or based off 2021 trends. I don't want to bore you with every single line. On the bonuses, we have a $500 net basis estimate per employee for a bonus built into this budget for now. But that's the basis for is having $500 net next year at some point, a bonus going out. Under fiscal management services, this is our prestige fee for adding the payroll, and what I'm doing now, the current general ledger stuff is actually decreasing because we had previously had CCSD's payroll expense built in there, which they haven't billed for yet this year. Under operation maintenance of plant, you have the plexiglass. There's spent a lot on plexiglass out for the whole school last year, so we don't have any built into it next year. And if we really needed it, we could probably be better off putting it in the ESSER 2 and 3 plan. Similarly, we don't have any buses budgeted for next year. We had purchased some vehicles at $262,000 of buses this year. So currently there's nothing budgeted. That could change, but that's what this draft is indicating. And then one of the last things is just that we have added a line for $15,000 for safety and security supplies, just so you can see that one separate in case for radios and other things that security staff might utilize. That brings you down to a budget balance in the black of $744,000. That's saying that you're going to increase your cash position by $744,000 over the course of next fiscal year. And that's it. I actually went longer than I usually do on a first reading, but basically, just take a look at it, take it home with you. If you see anything that sticks out in particular, please let us know and reach out so that we can look at it and make adjustments at the next finance committee meeting, so that when we come in here to do the final reading of the budget for next year, it'll be ready to go and can be approved at that board meeting, because it does have to be approved before June 30th. Any questions on any of those expenses or anything else I can help with in that regard?
I just want to point out that, again, a bonus is built in there at the board's discretion to give, just to kind of show you. We did 2 bonuses this past year. I don't know what you will do next year. There'll be new board members also that'll come on board. And there's a 5.5% salary increase, which is for the first time ever, we're going away from CCSD with that. That's your guys' choice. Legally speaking, we have to pay as much or more than CCSD. I don't know what they're doing right now. They probably are planning for a step or something. I've not been given information yet, but for the first time ever in this board's history, you guys are going to be setting our salary schedule, and it will deviate from CCSD.
Right, next up is approving of the first reading of the 21-22 budget. Can I get a motion to table that vote until we consider the proposed?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Hey, David, you have one more minute to hang on with us, please?
Yes, sir.
I think the very next topic is ESSER 2 and 3, and this is just informational. The calculation I shared last month for ESSER 2 is $2.47 million. That's going to be spent by September 30th of 23, and it can go back all the way to March 13th of 2020. Your calculation for ESSER 3 was just short of $5.5 million. Is that correct?
Yes, that sounds right.
I think it was 5.4 something.
Mhm.
So, and that has the exact same timeline. It can retro back to March 13th of 2020 when all this kind of took place. And then it can go all the way through September 30th of 23. So 2 more school years and a little bit into the next fiscal year after that. And they've added on there a lot about learning loss, of course, is a major category, but technology, devices, connectivity, and building pairs and improvements, HVAC units, windows, doors, etc., of which we need all of that. That's all for, any questions on ESSER 2 and 3 as of right now? Okay. I have requested to meet with CCSD on multiple occasions so far about this. It hasn't happened yet. ESSER 1, that did happen, and we worked on plans and got them approved, etc. I'm anxious and, I want to meet, but I'm also getting nervous about not meeting because there's a lot of money to try and plan for. We can be transformative for our school. Okay. Thank you, David.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Parent advocate position.
Sure.
If she's in the room, you know,
Huh?
I'll get it. You got it?
Yep.
Now you can
Thank
relax.
you. Did a great fine
No,
job.
I'm-
I was gonna say you did a
I
great
got
job.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda is a parent advocate position. Who is,
I have the document right here. It's been in our board folder, throughout the week. So here's a little description that was submitted for this position. So school and community counselor position. In terms of an active DBM code and CCSD, which we're still part of, it most closely fits to a parent advocate. So I would equate it to more of a social worker aspect of being a counselor. So seeking interventions to allow all students to perform at their best, seeking out why students are not engaged and successful at school, which is the root cause, what's causing a problem, collaborate with the school officials and community on resources to support individual students, and connecting those students with those resources and the families. Putting in interventions to increase student achievement as well as emotional and social well-being. Do home visits, weekly meetings with admin, counselors, attendance supervisor, to connect with families to establish a rapport and relationship with the school. These are usually people who are disenfranchised or just are not connected to the school. Help solve a problem that solve that problem. See here. Create interventions to solve problems that will be essential through school and community services, mental health, counseling, other guidance counselors, admin, and teachers. So recruiting, connecting available school and community resources for these families, and then responding to admin, guidance, attendance, and staff referrals. So this would be, in the near term, this would definitely be covered by ESSER funds. You're intervening with at-risk students. So over the next 2-3 years, it will be covered by that. Long term, it would become part of our salary schedule and a permanent position. So this is for your consideration. It's basically a person who's going to work with at-risk kids and their families to hopefully get them back on track and keep them in school and figure out, how we can best help them. What's, obviously counselors and admin try and do that, but these are kind of kids and families that need a lot of time and a lot of personal attention, and especially going to the house. These kids aren't coming here. They're truant a lot of times, and they're transient. So I think it could be a real benefit to our school.
so that take a lot of the burden of truancy meetings off of the guidance counselors that they could
Yeah.
work on. Question, you said it was listed as parent advocate. That's not typically a certified position though. That's usually a lower salary scale.
The one that we picked from the DBM is
Okay,
a,
so I just want to make sure. that's
yeah,
not
there's two different
lofty.
types. There's one that's classified. Yeah.
Fiscal.
Yeah, there's two different, it's in there twice. So one is a C43 classified and it pays less. The one that we're advertising is a teacher contract at 210 days. So it matches the counselor's
Yeah, that's a
current.
lofty position. I would want to make sure that.
Yeah. So it'll be paid exactly the same as our guidance counselors are right now.
And then
Good
I would
question.
just suggest that there's some sort of data tracking so that when the funds run out, that you have some data to support the need for continuing even beyond COVID.
That's makes complete sense. I totally agree with that.
You know, because that way future boards can say, hey, this actually, look at the amount of engagement we increased.
I mean, we currently have a counselor on staff now who's part-time and who's already rehired. And so obviously after 2-3 years, if we can't prove that we need it or it's not working, then that could be absorbed back into the staff. But
So I
yeah,
think that could be a really big game changer for some of our goals. in the school.
this definitely supports all 3 of our charter goals.
Great.
So we're gonna, Ms. Marlowe, we're gonna vote individually, or we want to do it all together?
Roll call. All together. Roll call.
Well, there's 4 positions to be approved.
The way it is already on the agenda, since we approved the agenda, we have to go line item by line item just to make sure that we're following with Robert's rules.
We'll go fast.
It can be fast as long as we go through it.
Am I to understand this is going to be a regular salary position?
It's going to be
Yeah.
it's a teacher contract at 210 days, which is what a counselor gets.
And it's an added position.
It's an added position, yes. And it's built into that budget you guys just saw,
Right.
which is why you tabled it.
Right.
So all these next 4 positions were all put in there.
And they're all added positions, these next 4. Or
Yeah, they're necessary.
Yeah.
This particular one is.
The strength coach, is one we've talked about throughout the entire spring and then throughout the year, really. So that is when we've mentioned that when we get a retirement in that department,
Okay.
which is we're expecting in the next year or so will happen, that we probably will not fill. So it's more like a 1 year.
Yeah. But this one is definitely an added.
This is
position.
an added, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
We would want to replace
Needs to be.
or add the counselor, add this position.
Mhm.
So we keep our guidance department in its current configuration.
Right.
So we're going to do a roll call, vote on each one of these positions, correct? Okay.
Gotta make the motion first
Yeah,
to
need a
approve
motion.
the parent advocate position.
Can I have a motion to approve the parent advocate position?
Motion.
Second, please.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, roll call.
Robert Woodall,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hatley,
Yes.
Beebe,
Yes.
Millar,
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Next one is the PE position / strength coach and stipend. So this is a teacher position and the stipend we currently have in there is $15,000 because it's a year round. It's already in the budget. So as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, we're going to have in the PE department, of course, but we expect someone to retire next year or so. When that happens, we'll absorb that position. So for next year, this would be an added position and expense to our budget.
So a combination position for the PE position and the strength coach
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And he will not be coaching in athletics.
Nope. The stipend is to just be a strength coach, 100%. No other coaching will be.
And his stipend is just for the strength and
Yeah.
conditioning.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to be like.
So
a coach
This person would be doing the strength and conditioning classes throughout the school day. And then because they're working beyond the school day, year round,
That's why. he gets
which is
the
a
stipend.
lot.
Oh, I should.
Yeah.
For all
of
sports.
course.
Yeah.
All
This
right.
has been asked for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
4 years
I'm
too
all for
late
it.
for my girls.
About 30 years.
Does anyone have any other questions concerning this position?
We'll do first, second, and then roll call.
Okay, so we'd like a motion to approve this position of a PE and strength coach.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Okay. All right, moving forward to another position is an English teacher position.
Well, we spoke about the English department throughout the year. We had we were going to lose a teacher, but we didn't lose that person. We chose to keep the person on. We have a person now leaving us and teaching abroad for next year, which is up. That one, this is in addition to that one. I'm sorry. So yeah, that. Yeah.
so it's an extra, it's an additional
Yeah.
teacher point.
This would be adding to the English department. Between math and English, we're worried that we'll need more teachers in those departments because of the learning loss and the increase in enrollment. And those are the two most important departments, reading and math. So if we do not need it, we don't plan on filling it. We want to look at the course numbers. As of right now, we still have pretty much all the school choice kids to get their course requests in yet. It's a lot more. It's 150 more kids. So just if we need it, I want to ask for it now because it's already late May. So it's basically the same rationale for both of those. Math is very tight as well. Those foundation classes, you're basically taking Algebra 1 for a full year. So if kids fail that, it just puts a real stress on the department in terms of teaching sections. So
Can I ask a question? Would you be able to consider having smaller class sizes in those subjects for some of those?
Yeah.
With the increase, because I think smaller class sizes.
yeah, that's basically the reason for
Research
why
versus
both these are up here is
intervention.
to make sure we have
Yeah,
appropriate class sizes. The Spanish position that was approved the previous year is still vacant. We went through and hired a person who we lost a Spanish teacher, and we filled that position. But going through the applications, we have not found a person that we want to give the job to. So if we can't find, like in the case of Spanish, a person that we feel we want to be, having our staff, we won't do it. So for English and for math, it's really just about if we feel we need it, we would like to have the ability to do so. And for math, we've been offering a $10,000 signing bonus, which we would now configure to be over 4 years instead of over 2 years. So you get $2,500 each year.
And why is it
We're not on
necessary for
that.
math and not English?
That's a critical needs area.
Oh,
So there's a shortage. So this gives a competitive leg over CCSD. Right now, CCSD used to offer a $10,000 signing bonus. We matched it. They've since went away from that and they have a different pay schedule for certain schools or Title I schools. And they start them off at 45,000 versus 40,000. So they try and target those schools where it's hard to retain or to recruit teachers. For us, we just do this to recruit the best to come here in those areas.
As you say that, I know this is kind of a question you can't answer, but when will we be able to start the interview process? Or are we gonna have to wait till August and
that's
take whatever's left
Same
over?
thing.
Or are we gonna be?
No, approved. These can be posted tomorrow by Lynn.
All right,
yeah, because now is when you want your.
Yeah.
that's exactly right.
I was going to ask the same.
Yeah, you
exact
need to
thing.
begin by July 10th. You also can't get a release unless they get a replacement. So we want to, get out there and find these
Yes.
positions. We need them.
You think it's necessary, maybe possibly to do a signing bonus to get a Spanish teacher? I mean, obviously there's a problem with that. Is that classified as a critical need issue?
Well, I'm not sure if it is or not, but that's a very valid
It's a good
thing.
question. I don't think it's listed in the state as critical needs. It's usually math, science, special ed, but I think we
In
can
this
set our own.
situation, right,
Yeah,
that's
we're
gonna be-
allowed. I mean,
It could
that's
lure someone
one of the
away.
advantages of following our own.
I think that's something to think
I
about.
think that's a great idea.
I think it is too. I wish I had thought of it. I'm glad you did though.
Mexican.
I was thinking about it in traffic.
That's really good. That's really
Okay,
good
well,
data out
that's
there.
something we could all, I guess, come back to, right?
Approval for the English.
All right. Okay, so we've got the English teacher and the math teacher.
We haven't even moved to math yet. Y'all just start talking about it.
Oh,
We're still on
okay.
English.
Let me go back
I
to-
did them together because the argument is the exact same for both.
Right.
Those are the two areas that we're worried about being short-staffed in. So we can just do English, and then if you
And
approve
then
it, we can go on to math.
Any other questions? Sorry.
I have one more question.
Okay.
Would you have to RIF anyone in case, like, I don't want to hire someone and then,
Well, not,
Position.
as of right now, our budget shows 774 as a profit, so
Okay,
$750,000
so we wouldn't-
dollars.
yeah.
And it's all built in with also the 5% increase and all the insurance increases and stuff. So
Yeah.
we discussed, we look very healthy in our
Yeah.
budget.
So as long as we, I mean, if we post it and hire and we can keep them and use it in different
Mhm.
Like you said, smaller. class
capacities, smaller class size, intervention, anything, then no more questions.
We used to have a teacher who's phenomenal, who had a duty as a math interventionist. So she taught
Yeah.
2 classes, and we got so tight this past year because of the virtual academy
Yeah.
and because of COVID, we couldn't do that.
Yeah,
So,
because that would help your learning loss.
oh yeah, we could probably justify both of these under ESSER funds for the next 2
Absolutely.
years.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Use it while we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for ESSER 3, 20% of the money we get has to be somehow earmarked for learning loss,
Yep.
which is a pretty substantial number to try and, you know,
No brainer.
Spanish teachers too.
So a Spanish teacher could also-
Because
Yeah.
I know some
You
kids
can't
that are
graduate
really
without foreign
struggling
language.
with Spanish because it's, they were virtual most of the time, and now
Yeah.
it builds on each other. So if
Yeah.
you don't
It
learn the
does.
base,
no
So
doubt.
even if they got through it,
yeah, it's terrible.
your skill set
Even
is,
though that money is
weak.
earmarked for certain things, I think that we could, it's still a very broad spectrum with how we can work it.
find a dual certified Spanish. English.
True, yeah. Okay.
So
Motion.
Yep, motion to approve the English teacher
All right, motion,
position.
please, to approve the English teacher position.
Motion,
Second,
Second,
all those, table. Call the roll call.
Woodall,
yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hatley,
Yes.
Beebe,
yes.
Millar,
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Motion has passed.
okay,
Okay,
repeat,
so we're going to now.
Math.
do the math now.
Math
With
position,
10,000
okay.
signing bonus.
All right. All right, motion to approve the math position.
Second. I mean, motion. Motion.
Game.
Okay, second, please.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call.
Roll call, Woodall,
Still in traffic.
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hatley,
Yes.
Something for
Beebe,
Yes.
Millar,
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
The motion has passed.
All right, we still voting. now.
B one?
Okay,
Now you can go back to the budget.
back to the B one.
Okay. I
Thought we did the PE one.
thought we did all
No, we
this.
did that.
I thought we did that.
We didn't.
No, I said go back
We
to the
didn't roll call
budget,
on
the 21-22 budget. You're untabling it
Because
and
we
then
tabled it.
Yeah.
Okay, we approved those. We're just
so
talking.
now we're doing the budget?
We're going to untable.
untable the budget and then approve the budget for the first reading.
All righty. Okay. Let's go to
We
untable
reviewed
the
it,
budget.
tabled it until we approved.
Yeah.
it,
All
Because it
right.
already had those built in.
So we are going to untable the 21-22 budget. And I guess I need a motion.
Yeah.
To go ahead and pass this budget.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All right, let me do the roll call. 1 second. I just have to click on the right thing. Oopsie. Mr. Woodall,
Absolutely.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Hatley.
Yes.
Miss Beebe,
Yes.
Miss Millar,
Yes.
Miss Bennett.
Yes.
21-22 budget has passed.
The first.
Yes, first
First
reading. Thank you.
All right, so moving forward, personnel policies.
So we need to, so we need to upgrade our personnel policies because now that we're going with prestige, how we accrue our leave is through these policies. So when you work X number of days, you get so many sick days, vacation days, et cetera. And looking at our old manual for James Island, there's been some changes throughout the years because it's back from 2003. And so we had the latest one from CCSD of how it's done. And there's just some language between the charter application and CCSD policy and our own policies that were not congruent. For example, the salary schedule. If you go back to the original charter, on our bylaws, or the policy manual, pardon me, it says that we have to follow the CCSD salary schedule. Our application says the board determines our salary schedule. So they don't even really agree with each other. So in here, I changed the policy to read the way that it legally has to read. It's way at the end. It's the last one. Salary guide. I put here the board of directors approves our salary schedule. And as a conversion charter school, we must pay as much or more than CCSD. That's what it is in the charter law. So that's just getting things to be consistent. And then this says our leave. One thing that is in here that is a little bit different is our policy manual said that 240-day people get 4 weeks of vacation after X number of years. CCSD went to 3. So we have some people that have 4, some people have 3. I wanted to make it so that it was more advantageous to be here than CCSD. So let me find it.
While you're looking for that, have you talked to the other, I'm sure you have the other charter schools, what they're doing, like Orange Grove or?
Orange Grove is doing a 5.5% salary increase. Yeah, David kind of researched that in preparation for our board meeting. So this one here, just after 1 year, you get 2 weeks. After 3 years, you get 3 weeks. After 5 years of consecutive employment here, you get 4 weeks. So just ways to retain our full-time employees so that we are more desirable than CCSD. And we're also consistent from person to person.
What will we do with our faculty sick day, personal day? Will we go with the same?
Yeah. So this outlines the way we've been getting our sick day accruals matches CCSD, which we've always done. Basically, we all get 1 sick day per month that you accrue. Teachers get 3 personal days per year. Admin get 2. Those are 240 earned vacation. And that's pretty much it. Then there's military stuff in there about being called up for active duty and stuff. All of that is consistent with the law, which is, that's why it's good to go with CCSD to this stuff, because they actually have policy manual people they employ to keep current on all the changes that throughout the year. So if you go back to 2003, a lot of things have changed in the last 18 plus years. So here are the laws that this complies with down here. So those are the highlights. The rest is pretty boring stuff about, again, sick days, military stuff, bereavement, all that stuff. But all of it matches CCSD and what's required by law. Any questions for me on that?
So
This is-
assuming that that's also a vote.
Yes.
Okay, we're just voting away here. Then. All right. Could I have a motion then to pass the policy and the revisions for the, I guess it's personnel.
Yes.
Have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Woodall,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Hatley.
Yes.
Miss Beebe,
Yes.
Miss Millar,
Yes.
Miss Bennett.
Yes.
The motion has passed.
All right. One more thing to vote on, at least currently.
Beyond program.
So Big and Beyond, that's, this is the MOA for it here. We were approached, so Miss Johnson, who's our equity and access coach, was approached by Big Brothers and Big Sisters to sort of a mentoring program for some of our students. And that's what this is about. This is a 6-year commitment to partner with Big Brothers and Big Sisters to create mentors for students. They're primarily targeting African-American males. That's the predominant population they're targeting, but not exclusively. And so they're going to hopefully get 50 or more mentors that will meet bi-monthly with these individuals during our crew advisory period that we want to do. And we also have the one lunch that should come back into play now that we can get vaccinated. So that the time is built in our schedule for them to meet with their mentors. And they'll be tracking their academic progress, discipline, all of that, GPA, and what they do beyond high school to see how the program's being successful or not. I do have the person from this organization. She's attending, I believe. If you want to hear from her, we can make her into a panelist. Let me just stop sharing. More. Meredith, are you there? Let's see if there she is.
Meredith,
There she is.
Good evening.
Hello, Meredith.
Hi
Um,
there.
You want to just give a brief overview or highlights of the program for the board?
Sure, yes. So Big Brothers Big Sisters is a one-to-one mentoring program, and we were fortunate to build a relationship with Ms. Johnson and the Equity and Access Committee, and to meet with Mr. Thorne. The objective of the program is to build over 3 years a 90 student cohort designed to help prepare high potential, so students, particularly African American males, but also females, who are determined to be high potential, meaning their test scores are high, but they're under the performing. And so this is what Ms. Johnson and the rest of your faculty would determine as stealth population. So without the right supports, they're not going to shoot the moon, but with them, potentially they would. Additionally, the program is curriculum guided, it's e-mentoring. We have the responsibility for going out and finding safe, qualified, well-interviewed mentors that but should consider it a privilege to mentor these young people. And we find kids that are compatible, we match them up. And we're also interviewing the families themselves to understand more about these students, where their strengths lie, what the family history is, personality, and those sorts of things that go into making a strong mentoring relationship. That's all our work. In addition to that, we will be sourcing curriculum, and we've been working with a contractor to develop that. And that curriculum walks over a 3-year period these young people through career preparation or post-secondary education preparation, in addition to social and emotional skills development, giving them exposure to workplaces throughout the Tri-County that they may not have even considered that they deserve to be a part of. And then also giving them the social and emotional support of someone extra on their team. The great news about this design is that the curriculum that we source and deliver will be reinforced during those advisory periods during the off week. So they're getting a double dose. And then we've just hired as of yesterday, our Big Beyond coordinator that is dedicated to your school. And that person will be responsible for coordinating with your faculty and advisors, particularly the Big Beyond advisory. When this works in its perfect design, those mentors will be invited to the IGP meetings to be part of team student. On top of that, our program is committed to high family engagement. And so on a monthly basis, we're having conversations with both the mentor and the little, we'll call them scholars because no high schooler wants to be known as a little, and their parent. Also on a quarterly basis, we will be bringing together the families, the mentor, and the scholar on a Saturday to do some engagement activities. This marries up Big Brothers Big Sisters sort of hallmark model, community-based mentoring, and allows it to be e-mentoring because we know 2 things. Number one, young people don't feel terribly excited about hanging out with adults after school and on weekends. And so we do see a drop in engagement on older young people involved in our program. So we know that it needs to happen during the school day. Furthermore, we know that high schoolers in mentoring relationships are far more successful when they're moving through a series of gates or accomplishments. So that's also an important design feature. I think one of the more enticing things when we met with students to gauge their interest, because we did listening sessions and got their feedback in the school, is that we are guaranteeing a paid internship or summer employment the summer prior to their senior year is also built in. So this is a $550,000 project that we're having to raise on our own. I have secured $100,000 of that already from the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. And so I'm out to market to raise up the other $450,000, and that's our commitment. So there we go. I can field any questions you might have.
Meredith, I do have a question.
Yes.
I noticed that you said a couple of times the 3-year commitment, 3-year gauge. We have a 6-year
Yes.
commitment here. How does that?
That's a good question. The clarification is about the data. So we need 6 years of study because we'll bring 3 cohorts. So year 1, it's 30 students, year 2, 60, year 3, 90. And we need them to get all the way through. And so it's really more like 5.5 than it is 6, because we'll need 6 months prior or post graduation to make sure we have all the data on a 3-year program for 3 groups of children.
Is this a new program for you? Is there any success with any other schools?
What this is a an enhancement or a new articulation of something that has had success in other markets. So what is different about this is that it is e-mentoring. The other thing that is different about this is that when we see school-based mentoring in other Big Brothers Big Sisters markets, it's generally going to be with younger students, so elementary or middle school. And then additionally speaking, it's not going to have that community-based parent engagement piece. So I've worked in 2 other Big Brothers Big Sisters markets, out in Salt Lake City, running statewide fundraising efforts for them, but then additionally in Tallahassee, Florida. And what we know is that school-based mentoring relationships are not as effective when the parent is not engaged. And so what typically happens is that faculty will identify their most at-risk children whose parents are least engaged, and those are the kids we'll get referrals for. The problem is the position that you are going to hire for earlier in the agenda is really needed in order for those kids to succeed, whereas a true mentoring relationship requires back and forth and some parent engagement. And so these young people who have signed up already to participate in Big Beyond have parents that have come out on Zoom calls at night or have filled out the JOT form to have us call them, and they are going to be committing to an 1.5-hour interview with us in addition to those monthly check-ins. And so this is an enhancement on a regular school-based mentoring model that you'd see elsewhere in the nation. I should also say that we have a new CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters of America. When he was doing his listening sessions and I had the opportunity to meet with him, he said that this program is squarely in alignment where the national organization will be pushing for the development. So it is possible that in time we will be receiving some innovation funding from the national office for this as well. And the question you might ask is, why James Island? Although you guys seem to care a great deal about your community and you're like, of course it's James Island. But for us, it's because, again, you have a strong equity and access commitment. But additionally, the charter school environment allows us to be more collaborative and experimental in ways, positively so, in ways that we would be more hamstrung in a traditional public school. And so the idea would be, we make it a huge success at James Island, and we help the rest of the educational community understand what kind of commitment it would need to make in order to replicate such a thing. So you could think of yourselves as being positive innovators or positively disruptive in that regard.
Sounds very exciting, very necessary. Other than the 6-year commitment, what is our financial commitment for our school?
I have not asked for a financial commitment. And if you guys ever wanted to make a financial commitment, I would absolutely welcome that, but that's not the ask.
Okay. So you're comfortable, confident you'll be able to source through funding?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? No, that was my question. Okay. That's excellent.
I mean, it'd be great if like your teachers could feed the kids some pizza now and again. So that's my big ask. So,
we're good with that. We do that well around here.
There'll be nominal costs for
yes,
food, celebrations. And
yes,
even,
that kind of thing.
even some money towards CCSD for the data crunching. They have these special reports for this program. That's maybe a couple $1,000s a year kind of amount, not
Yep.
substantial.
It's an outstanding program. I have worked with Big Brothers and Sisters in the past, so I was
Wonderful. Thank
always
you.
supportive. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Meredith, for your time.
Absolutely.
A motion?
That's for approval. Another vote. Meredith, thank you so much for
Thanks,
attending.
Meredith. All
You
right.
guys-
So, again, approval for the Big and Beyond program. Need a motion, please. Motion. Second.
Second.
All right. Mr. Woodall,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Hatley,
Yes.
Miss Beebe,
Yes,
Miss Millar,
definitely.
Miss Bennett.
Yes.
The motion has passed.
All right.
All right. Reviewing the ever-present COVID data.
Okay.
The Not so present anymore.
Yeah, okay. Right here. Here's the latest report from DHEC. Let me catch up a little bit here. Here's the map. Low is green, medium gray, blue is high. So glad they changed the colors. That blue on
Yeah.
blue stuff is more confusing. But the data is great. Charleston County, the rate's 74.1, low in terms of the incident rate, and low percent positive, which makes sense because of vaccines are readily available. Our COVID numbers, just check real quick. All right. I know for Charleston County, I checked Wando High School, they're at around 225. Beckham and West Ashley are both around 100 cases year to date. And I think we're at 144. So pretty similar, Oops, got it. Sorry. Here's, if I want to see our data, here it is. Still no evidence of any transfer at school as before. Let me see the year to date tab. There it is. So April 8 in person, 4 remote, very low numbers. March had some cases. May so far only 4 cases in person. Doing quite well.
So question that I think correlates with this, the opting out policy, the mask, how's that going? The big numbers here?
I don't know the numbers right now. The first day we had around 50, 60 that came in. It was, it was very quickly thrust upon schools and thrust upon DHEC for that matter, because they had to make the waiver. So CCSD happened on a Tuesday, I think it was, and that afternoon. The waiver was done by Wednesday morning by DHEC. CCSD met as a board of trustees and put out a statement and put up the opt-out policy. And our current protocol is when it comes in, any office can accept it, any teacher, and then it goes to a secretary, puts it in Power School, so you can see which kids have put in a waiver. And then the kids that also that submit a waiver, they get an orange card. It goes in the back of their ID, so you can see at a moment's notice who's turned in a waiver and who has not. So some staff were definitely upset by what happened. It was done quickly and probably a little more advanced notice would have been a little more prudent, but it is what it is. The law is the law now.
Heard a lot of positive feedback with the opting out option. Very supportive, and kids excited. I know you guys have children, so you know,
It makes our job easier for sure. Kids, I mean, this is in my report, but I think we had 109 kids get vaccinated. I want to say that May 12th or 13th, and 3 teachers. So, and some of those were walk-ins that were initially it was 16 and over, and then they lowered the age down to 12. So we got some younger students as walk-ins on that day. The second date is June 30th.
vaccines are readily available all
June
at the
3rd.
same time.
Yeah. They need them in India right now, not here so much.
Yeah.
All right.
That's good news.
Oops, where am I at
All
here?
right.
I'm in the wrong place.
Leadership,
All right. Just
Shelley.
Miss Ballard, are you there? It's been a long time.
I am. It has, but I'm hanging in there. How are y'all today?
Hold on one second.
All right. Good evening. My report is super short, so I know that it's a long meeting tonight. It's there for you to see. You can see all of the fun things happening in departments. I mostly just wanted to highlight that we have, in fact, approved a crew period. That will begin sort of an initial implementation next year with one crew period a week for 45 minutes on every Wednesday. And this will kind of give us a chance to prepare students and faculty for what we're expecting in the crew following in the next school year when we go full force into it. Mr. Timoni has recruited a team of people to work next year to make sure that our crew is running like it should, and then we will also be recruiting teachers to write a series of 4 years of curriculum for that crew class so that we can make that a credit-bearing class. So we're super excited about that, and that's pretty much what's going on in the world of leadership, unless you guys have any questions for me.
Just say kudos for passing through.
I am really, really, really relieved and really excited because there's so much potential for this program. I think we can definitely get some of our learning loss, and especially repair some of those relationships that we just haven't been able to work on, or those kids that have been isolated and missing, and for our teachers too. We'll have a faculty crew, which is also exciting, and I think that's going to be really important for helping with the climate of the school and the team building, and of course some professional learning to make sure that our faculty's got the support they need.
No, it's a crew is a brand new, is a model kind of adopted various model. It's all like restorative practice, justice concepts.
Is it a high school K program? Is it age group based?
It's going to be grade level, so 9th grade. It's an advisory class, a period that actually has more of a theme and more robust nature to it. So the first year is about who am I as a student. The second year is where am I at. And the third year is where am I going. And the fourth year is how can I become a global citizen. I have a
PowerPoint.
yeah. You use restorative circles in there. You do academic check-ins, social emotional learning, goal setting.
We'll have a lot of opportunity to do a lot of fun things, Melanie. There will be a lot of social emotional learning. We'll be able to support kids with those success skills like time management and organization. We can really reinforce research and inquiry skills in that class. And then the super fun part I can't wait for is we're really hoping to incorporate a service learning component so that they can do some research on an important local issue and then take that research and actually turn that into action in the community. So that's super exciting too.
Do the students do they follow the teacher? So do the faculty member keep saying?
Yes.
Yes.
That was the one really successful part of our current advisory program is those who did it well and bought in, the staff members that is they really cared about those kids and they had them for all 4 years. And so that is the same kind of thing goes on, and Lucy Beckham and River Bluff will also do this. Those teachers do travel with those cohorts, those kids. We don't do chats.
Thank you, Kelly.
You bet.
It's not a coffee house.
Okay, so we are moving forward to the athletic report, which is so exciting. What's going on? What's exciting?
Probably better.
It is so exciting. All our champions.
They don't come often.
He's currently at the baseball game right now, so I don't believe,
Yeah, he
I'll
probably-
check he stopped for a second. I'll do it for him. I think he should just enjoy the baseball game and make sure the fans are behaving properly and such.
So we won the Saturday game, correct?
Yep.
And now we're playing for a second.
Yeah, right now.
Is that here?
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
The girls are playing softball at May River. It's 5-5 right now, in the fourth inning, and it's 1-1 here. Both games are good.
So here's his report. So yeah, Saturday was an awesome day.
Across the board.
Boys and girls won a state championship. Girls track, these events, how they did. Girls track's going on to the state. Baseball won their first playoff game. They're playing right now. Softball's playing right now. May Rivers just third. Tennis lost in the first round, unfortunately. We have one student who's still competing in the state singles. That's nice to hear. There's a picture from Irmo, the soccer team. There's the boys' picture. 1-0-1-0. There's them all together afterwards. They wouldn't let us bring the girls back on the field to do a picture on the field. That was nuts. But
So you get the dark shot.
yeah,
for like
The night.
often both your teams go to the same site and
Yeah.
compete the same evening to do that. So there's the
That's a nice
kids
facility.
competing. So concerns, baseball field, getting quotes. I reminded them that they asked last year for some irrigation funding and they never asked for it. I'm like, well, if you guys want it, just ask for it. You'll probably get it. So working on quotes for that because the baseball field irrigation is not working right. Getting quotes to fix part of the football field again, all those sports out there, especially lacrosse, just tears up the field in the middle. Practice field behind the stadium needs to be irrigated, laser leveled and resodded. So that's being worked on with the district as part of the construction project. And looks like the boosters will disband the booster club for lack of parent interest.
That's hard to believe, especially what we got going on right now. Athletic.
Well,
Is there something else that we-
It was the letter that was written out how to run. Scared of it, I believe.
I don't think there's such a good support system.
But they're kind of individual.
I know you and I.
yeah. It seems like people prefer the parents maybe to
Up,
do
down,
individual
round, round.
booster clubs for the sports. They're really passionate about baseball.
That's the feedback I got.
What's that now?
I think the parents prefer to just be involved in the sports their kids are involved with versus a big one that covers all the sports.
Well, I get it. but
Well, everything is sourced out, concessions,
It's not like the old days. Everybody.
not anymore.
They're
No, it's not like that. It's football.
not for football or baseball, really.
They don't.
I thought it
It's
was sourced out.
sourced
like
out
the
of parents.
Scorpios.
Oh,
No,
okay.
we don't do that anymore.
It
We voted
used to
that
be,
out.
last year it was. but
Well, but not now this year. Okay, well, good. I'm glad.
I think that's a way for everybody to get to know. But I hear what you're saying.
The concession stand did well even during COVID. Did well.
Yeah.
And
Did
a lot
better
of
2
people-
games than did the whole prior year. But I think that's what I think people want to be involved. At that the correspondence to the parents it seemed like it was a lot. It's like
Yeah, I would.
it was more of a commitment to be on the board that just hurt. It'll be at every meeting. You miss 2 meetings, you're off of it.
Wow.
People are just really
You know, something that when I was coaching in the past, we actually brought in another booster club that was very successful. The same size, school that we had, so, it's very similar. They spoke about, what they did, why it worked. I think sometimes that's perfect. People can kind of build off of that and use each of those people for resources. So it's just get by. We're obviously doing really well, so it's not broken.
There is strong support for every
Just like
team
individual
that
sport.
I've been going. I go to a lot of the games that I typically never did. Just there's a lot of support. Parents are involved.
When Tom
And
said, the more
success breeds
successful we
success.
are, the more support there'll be.
True.
Yeah, success breeds success.
I mean, everybody's sporting the hats downtown, so Saturday. It's a great thing.
Yeah, that's fun.
Before we move to the maintenance, I know this will be brought up again, hopefully be a whole lot, but as far as the state champions, the rings, that's something that we have done in the past for the kids, for the track or?
They got medals.
The girls cross country got it. They
Okay,
got rings.
okay.
And I just know that if that's something we've got funding
Yeah.
for, we should do it
Yeah,
all day
absolutely.
long.
Oh, yeah, you got,
Yeah.
it's been a precedent since the early times, yes.
And like you said, they get medals though.
Yeah, the
Oh,
high
ring
school
is cool
league
because
gives
you can
a
wear your ring
medal.
around like,
They got
I'm
rings
Tom
and
Brady, I
medals.
got all these rings.
The school bought the rings all the time, and the high school league gives them the medals for
Right.
run-ups, state champions and runners.
They had to be in our budget before this year.
I'm sure that cost is nominal compared to our
Let us say,
budget.
Yeah.
COVID on
They're
it.
not that, they're-
We can start that.
Yeah, they-
they're
So
not
we do
that.
a bonus, just like, I just want y'all.
Well, it's probably a small enough number that doesn't require a board vote, but we're talking
Yeah,
a few $1,000s. That's,
Yeah.
Right now, we've got 2 teams, but who knows?
well, I mean, each one is a different purchase request, so
Yeah.
even still, it's
Yeah,
gonna be a
might
small
have
number.
track teams.
That's what I'm saying. I think
Girls
baseball,
will
I
learn
think
how to
track. Discipline, I think, to recognize for sure.
come on.
Indeed,
Yeah, we
I
did for team
totally-
sports and individual state champions.
Yeah.
That's what it should be.
Relays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so everybody thinking about it, that's all. All right, so maintenance.
All right. Okay, as far as maintenance, requested ADA sidewalk ramps back by the trailers by the visiting grandstands, stadium. 2 bad HVAC compressors that serve both sides. Trailer 1, we care, been replaced and they're not working properly. These are things we can try and go back for with ESSER funds and try and reclaim. Again, going back to last spring, so we'll work on that. And since last month we met, they did 80 work orders.
That answer is gonna be great. Way across the curriculum.
Yeah. And then my report, I suppose, somewhere down at the end. I'll go quickly because I know we have baseball and stuff going on. It's been a long meeting.
Yeah, I get it.
So where,
We do.
where's the softball?
They're playing at May River.
Yeah.
This is just the governor's resolution and what transpired, CCSD statement. We followed it. I already talked how it's being done. We're collecting waivers. It's being documented in Power School so teachers can see it. They're also getting orange cards in the back of their IDs so we can see them as they walk around the building. Textbooks, we're working with the State Department to preview some new textbooks in world history, Algebra 3, pre-calc, probs, and stats. They're on display in the front atrium. Feel free to check those out if you'd like to. Promenade was pretty successful. We had about 80 students visit a private person's house across the street and had a view of marsh and the folly and such. It was a beautiful, beautiful setup. And they had a lot of fun. And they danced. They broke the rules. At the time, I heard all the promenades.
It's like footloose.
Yeah, exactly.
I heard that schools had canceled their promenades. Well, I heard schools had canceled promenades. So I'm like, if they're not going to have the promenade, why should we follow their rules? So I didn't worry about it. The senior picnic is going to be on May 28th, starting at 11:35 back in the stadium. So we have burgers and hot dogs, music and games for the seniors. There's a mental health walk this Friday, sponsored by Ms. Johnson. So go out there and walk a mile. And then we'll serve them food as well. I think we're going to do barbecue, which is kind of funny. We're going to go out there and do healthy stuff and get done and eat barbecue. The kids are going to be out there, part of our UBASA program. Yeah. Student vaccinations, already mentioned, we had 109 students get vaccinated at the school on May 13th for dose number 1. Second one's on June 3rd, yeah. And 3 staff members. Crew, this is a description for crew. It's kind of long, but again, it's about, we're going to do 1 day a week, not 3. So we're going to integrate team building, academic check-ins, goal setting, SEL, so that's social emotional learning, service learning projects, school spirit, and it supports all 3 of our charter goals. So that's good. Educate the whole child. HR and payroll, working with CCSD and PIBA. So far it's going pretty well. We have our group numbers for our insurance and retirement. And as of right now, we can keep our email domain the same, which is a big deal because our entire life is Google Drive and email. So that's good news for our staff. The EIR grant is a grant, $12 million grant through CCSD for professional development on cultural competency. We're a part of that. We'll be for the next 3 years. We get $1,500 per teacher, then to choose different PD that they want to go to as it relates to cultural competency. Graduation is on June 18th at 9 a.m. in the backyard. Please let me know if you're attending, if you hadn't already done so. By the way it's laid out, it's 4 tickets per graduate. We have 4 person sections that are gridded out in the stadium. And just doing that, having 6-foot separation from the sections and doing 8-foot sections for the families or patrons to be in there, that will take up 1,100 seats. So we can fit 1,100 people in the grandstands. We need to fit 1,388. So it means 286 or 300 thereabouts is going to be on the track. So when you factor in that 6-foot distance, it's going to be pretty tight. This idea that we have all this space to give out 15 tickets per graduate, unless we just completely ignore, what's been recommended. Enrollment, so we're at 1,550 currently. Here's the breakdown of the various color of kids we got. We got 4 colors going on. Next year we'll have 1 color. Orange, blue. So green is the virtual, red is the 5-day a week. So 505 days a week, 507. There's just an enrollment trend throughout the year. Projection for next year. This came from Ms. Rivera. So total 1,666. That does include our program kids, so early college, Clark. So you take that off, we're at 1,634 for actual possible kids in the building. So that's a very healthy number for us. So that's good. As far as technology, they're preparing for end of course exams, AP exams also with Chromebooks. They're working with Encore and the new network project. There's the first wave of that going on campus. They're evaluating software and curricular needs for next year. And then the media specialists here in the media center and Drake are working on the finer details of the one-to-one program. Security update. This goes back to the bomb threat that we had. So we received a direct threat to the school that was very specific in nature. We only had about 10 minutes to respond and react to that. There was a threat also that was made to CCSD schools through the police department, we found out the night before. And so based on the threat the night before and this threat, we were advised to evacuate the building. So we did so. We went back to the stadium and they did what they had to do. They went through and eventually after about 3 hours or so, we got the building cleared and got back in the building. And that case is still ongoing. And I think it's going to be resolved. Construction, nothing new going back there right now that I can update you on. We don't really meet that much at all or ever about that, which is unusual. The outdoor science classroom is going to begin in the next couple of weeks. Still no OSF or, approval, but we're going to proceed regardless. We expect to be done by early August. It comes down to getting the actual materials. I think the roof glass, it's plexiglass, I think, of sorts, is how fast we can get that. So it's either going to be early August or late August. Those are the board dates. So our last board meeting actually is June 14th. So it's a week sooner. So just before graduation. That concludes my report.
Okay, so what do we have in executive session?
We just have a quote to discuss on school repairs and improvements. So a motion to go into.
Yeah, motion to go into executive session. Excuse me. We have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Are they double elimination too?
So we're making a motion to, school repairs and improvements quote. Pass that, approve that. Do I have a motion to approve the school repairs and improvement quote?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor, or excuse me. Is this a vote? Yes.
Mr. Woodle,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Hatley,
Yes.
Miss Beebe,
Yes.
Miss Millar,
Yes.
Miss Bennett.
Yes.
Motion has passed.
One more motion.
Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Now I'll second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect.
Thank
You guys approved it.
Is it too late to buy a ticket?
You won't be checking now.
Huh?
You won't be checking now.
Oh, no, that one guy's doing that all the time, yeah.
I
Yeah, 'cause
I
I'm-
got you. I got you.
Oh, I have one.
You're welcome.
Oh.
Bye, guys.
I
Bye.
got you in the section.
See y'all next month. You're welcome.
Kind of looking out